When it comes to crazy moments in sports, Formula 1 has given us some of the wildest finishes you could imagine. Sure, everyone talks about the Abu Dhabi race in 2021, but that's nothing compared to what we are about to dive into. From races where drivers lost the lead just seconds before the finish line to incredible comebacks that seem impossible, these stories will show you just how unpredictable F1 can be. The best part, these aren't just races, they're moments that changed drivers' lives forever and left fans completely speechless. Number 1. 1971 Italian Grand Prix. Imagine 5 cars racing towards the finish line, all so close you could barely tell them apart. That's exactly what happened at the 1971 Italian Grand Prix. The race was intense from start to finish, but what happened at the end was simply mind-blowing. As these 5 drivers crossed the finish line, only 0.61 seconds separated all of them. That's less time than it takes to tie your shoelace. This wasn't just close, it was the closest finish F1 has ever seen. Think about it, 5 cars practically bumper to bumper, all fighting for the win. It's a record that still stands today, and honestly, it might never be broken. Number 2. 1989 Japanese Grand Prix. The 1989 Japanese Grand Prix is one of those races that still makes F1 fans angry when they talk about it. Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest drivers ever, was 16 points behind Alain Prost in the championship. Senna started from pole position, and everything looked good for him to close that gap. But then, things got messy. After a crash with Prost, who had to quit the race, Senna kept going and actually won. But wait, it gets worse. The race officials suddenly disqualified him for missing a corner and getting a push start even though it didn't help him gain any advantage. As if that wasn't bad enough, they hit him with a huge $100,000 fine and banned him for 6 months. Plus, they called him a dangerous driver, which really hurt his reputation. Talk about a bad day at the office. Number 3. 1958 Portuguese Grand Prix. Here's a story about total domination. The 1958 Portuguese Grand Prix started with Sir Stirling Moss in first place. Mike Hawthorne and his Ferrari briefly took the lead, but that didn't last long. Once Moss got back in front, something incredible happened. Hawthorne's Ferrari started having brake problems, and Moss was just too good that day. And by the time the race ended, Moss finished an incredible 5 minutes and 12 seconds ahead of Hawthorne in second place. That's not just winning, that's completely destroying the competition. And guess what? It's still the biggest winning margin in F1 history. Imagine being so far ahead you could probably make a sandwich before second place crosses the finish line. Number 4. 1997 Hungarian Grand Prix. The 1997 Hungarian Grand Prix is the kind of race that shows you're never safe until you actually finish. Damon Hill hadn't won a single race that year, which was pretty rough since he was the defending champion. Finally, it looked like his luck was changing. He got ahead of Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher at the start and built up a massive lead. With just 2 laps to go, he was 34 seconds ahead. That's like being a mile ahead in a running race, but then disaster struck. His car's hydraulics failed, leaving him stuck in 3rd gear. Even with such a huge lead, he couldn't keep going fast enough. Villeneuve caught up and passed him on the very last lap. Imagine leading the whole race, thinking you finally got your win, and then losing it all in the last few minutes. That's heartbreaking stuff. Number 5. 2018 Monaco Grand Prix. Here is a story about pure determination. Daniel Ricciardo was racing at Monaco in 2018, and he had something to prove. He had lost the race there in 2016 because his team messed up in the pits, so he really wanted this win. He started first and everything was going great until his car developed a serious problem. He couldn't use 2 of his gears. Now, Monaco is already the hardest track to drive on, and he had to do it with a broken car. He had to change how he drove, manage his brakes differently, and take care of his tires, all while Sebastian Vettel in his Ferrari was right behind him trying to pass. For 50 laps, Ricciardo drove like this with no help from his team. And guess what? He still won! That's like winning a marathon with a sprained ankle. Number 6. 1996 Monaco Grand Prix. The 1996 Monaco Grand Prix was absolute chaos. It was raining, making the track super slippery, and cars started crashing right from the first lap. By lap 5, only 13 cars were still racing. Remember, they started with 22. But it got even crazier. One car's suspension broke, and then Martin Brundle spun off the track. Later, Luca Badoer and Villeneuve crashed into each other, and near the end, there was an even bigger mess when Schumacher's teammate crashed, then got hit by Mike Salo, who also got hit by Häkkinen. And in the end, only 3 cars actually finished the race. 3 cars out of 22, that's like starting a party with 22 people and only 3 making it to the end. Number 7, 1982 Monaco Grand Prix. If you talk about crazy endings, the 1982 Monaco Grand Prix takes the cake. René Arnoux started first and was building a good lead until he lost control in lap 14. Then Alain Prost took over the lead. Everything seemed fine until it started raining. Drivers started spinning everywhere, and even Prost crashed with just 2 laps to go. Ricciardo Patrese then took the lead, but he spun off on the final lap. This let Pironi move into first place, but his car ran out of fuel just before the finish line, and somehow, Patrese managed to get his car going again and won the race. Can you imagine? That's 4 different leaders in the last 3 laps. It's like a game of musical chairs, but with F1 cars. These races show why F1 is so special. It's not just about having the fastest car or being the best driver. Sometimes it's about luck. Sometimes it's about never giving up. And sometimes it's just about being the last one still going. From incredibly close finishes to races where almost everyone crashed out, these moments prove that in F1, anything can happen. It's what makes the sport so exciting. You never know what you're going to see next. Remember, even after all these years, these races are still talked about because they show just how unpredictable and exciting Formula 1 can be. Whether it's a finish so close you need a photo to tell who won, or a race where simply finishing was an achievement, these moments are what make F1 the greatest racing sport in the world. And on that note, if you like this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to catch more fascinating stories from the world of motorsport. Drop a comment below with your favorite race finish of all time. I'd love to hear your thoughts.